Massive AEW plans plus top NJPW stars possibly leaving, and we are going to talk about a WWE return. Welcome back to the Ango Show, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to kick things off. We're going to talk about a big story surrounding New Japan Pro Wrestling. They have some contracts coming up, and obviously when contracts expire, this offers the opportunity for WWE and AEW and TNA to swoop in. Fightful Select has reported that several wrestlers within New Japan Pro Wrestling have their contracts coming up, and obviously per this report, there is a concentrated effort on New Japan Pro Wrestling's part to approach talent late, just ahead of when they would be free agents. One person close to the process stated they believe the promotion does it when talents are arriving to Japan and preparing for Wrestle Kingdom strategically. Now, just a few of the names that's contracts are coming up is Gabe Kidd and David Finlay. Now, this is obviously a very interesting story to me for a variety of reasons, but the largest one is due to the fact that we have seen WWE and AEW sign many talent from New Japan in recent years. And obviously for AEW, one of the big things that I think people need to understand is that AEW, they have a partnership with New Japan Pro Wrestling, but that hasn't stopped them from bringing in Okada or Will Ospreay. So who's to say it stops them from potentially bringing in maybe Gabe Kidd or David Finlay? The way I look at this is that WWE and AEW both have an opportunity to sign whoever they want. They have the money. It's just really up to the talent and whether or not they want to leave Japan and come to America and work full time for AEW or WWE. Listen, I like David Finlay. I think David Finlay is a great talent. I think Gabe Kidd is a great talent. I remember watching Gabe Kidd and What Culture Pro Wrestling, and that was kind of like my introduction to him, to see how far he's come to now literally just having this massive match with Kenny Omega. It would be very, very silly for me to say, hey, I wouldn't want to see this guy on TV every single week, whether that's on TBS or Netflix, right? So in my opinion, I would like to see these guys stay with New Japan Pro Wrestling because of the fact that New Japan Pro Wrestling has lost a lot of its top stars, and this would obviously hurt Japan, New Japan specifically, but also at the same time too, selfishly, I would love to see these guys get an opportunity in America. So now it's just really a matter of what the offers are, if there are any offers, how strongly are they considering, potentially leaving the company, and what is New Japan going to do to retain their talents? And I think that's the big question: is New Japan going to be able to offer them something that makes sense? I could see David Finlay coming to WWE. There's obviously some connections there. I could see them both going to AEW because there's some connections there. But for when top guys leave Japan and they head back to the United States or head to the United States and go to AEW, sometimes it doesn't always work out, and I think that's one thing that needs to be considered. That's one thing that needs to be said. So this is something to definitely pay attention to. We'll see what happens. This brings us to our WWE return. It's not a talent. Guys, we're talking about Jim Smallman. You guys know I made a video on this the other day, about a week or two ago. If you don't follow me on the channel, if you're not subscribed, you're missing this. But this is why it's really important to keep you guys updated, because he came out and said that he was leaving WWE. He was leaving NXT's creative team. This was the guy that basically brought Progress Wrestling to WWE. WWE had NXT UK, and Jim Smallman was a very, very big part of that. And then he went to the creative of NXT, and now, we thought he was done with the company. He has revealed on LinkedIn that he is returning to the company as an international talent scout. Now, maybe you guys don't know who Jim Smallman is, and maybe you may not think this is a big deal, but we haven't heard much about WWE International Scouting. We've heard a lot about WWE ID. We've heard a lot about the NIL program, but we haven't seen any concentrated efforts from the WWE to the international market, and more specifically Europe. Remember, we were talking about NXT Europe for a very long time, and now there's not even a whisper of it. And that to me tells me that WWE is done with that idea. But what this does tell me is that WWE may very well do WWE ID and just do it internationally as well. So we haven't seen any international ID signings, but perhaps with Jim Smallman coming back into the company, taking this role, he's able to live in the UK and he's able to be an international talent scout and have a career with the WWE, which is fantastic. I mean, this guy has a family, right? But at the same time, too, it does play a benefit into WWE if they were to have him work as an international talent scout. Perhaps that allows them to do some more WWE ID signings outside of America. Or maybe that means WWE eventually does actually launch NXT Europe. And then if that's the case, because he has experience with the WWE creatively, maybe they bring him into that role. But this is where I find things to be very interesting, because if he left NXT creative and everybody thought that was it, maybe WWE at that point in time didn't really have a plan just yet. Now it seems like WWE has bigger plan for the international market, and more specifically for the international talent. So I think that's a good thing for him. I think that's a good thing for WWE. It's really just a matter of what is WWE going to do after this. And, I'm not trying to get my hopes up. I thought maybe this would be a sign that potentially NXT Europe could become a thing again. But there's no talks of it. And I've said this before, but I think WWE has canceled that idea. I think TKO has completely changed course. And, I think maybe there is more concentrated effort on the WWE television product in America. And then as far as talent scouting goes, that seems to be like a new thing that they're working on. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, you guys can let me know what you think down below. That brings us to our final topic. AEW massive plans, all in Texas. Some of you guys are going to like this. Some of you guys are going to love this. And some of you guys are just going to be outright confused. I'm going to say, for me personally, it is all three. In the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer is now reporting that Omega and Okada is currently set for All in Texas. I think that is massive. That's a massive, 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 massive deal. Yes, this match has happened few times before, but for AEW, this is a very big deal. My only issue here, it's the only issue. I'm excited about this match. I think it's going to be great for All in Texas. That's exactly the kind of match you want to have for All in Texas. But this does show you why AEW sometimes creatively has issues. And please just understand what I'm saying here. When Okada and the Elite took out Omega, and then Omega returns and he hands Okada his belt, this didn't, All in Texas is too far away from this. Like, if I just got my ass beat while fighting for diverticulitis, and then I'm taken off TV and I'm pushed to the background, and then I finally return, wouldn't I try and go get my retribution back? Like, why isn't that happening here? I like the idea of this match happening, but I think that's the issue that I'm slightly confused with. But this is a massive match for AEW. And I think, when it comes to All in Texas, they're trying to sell more and more tickets, obviously. You're only going to be able to sell a lot of tickets for this event if you put on the best matches. You got to put on the best matches and the best card. That's simply how it's going to work. You're not going to be able to do it off brand recognition. You're not going to be able to do it off any of that. What you're going to be able to do is say, hey, guys, we are giving you literally a star-studded card, massive matches. It's a stadium show. Enjoy. And I think if AEW does that, they won't have a problem selling tickets. And I think Okada and Omega, for a lot of fans in America who have never lived, in Japan, never saw what they did in the Tokyo Dome, I think this is their treat, right? Like, this is going to be their thing where they finally get to witness it for the first time live in person. And I think that's a really cool thing. So good to see that AEW has this planned out. Hopefully they can tie up some loose ends on the storytelling aspect. But you guys let me know what you think down below.